Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
You're watching a Fact TV presentation of the Athens and Grafton School Board meeting.
And I call the order to order the meeting at 6:10. We'll start off with introductions. I believe we'll start to the left.
Kathy Sienna Goodwin, Grafton.
Rachel Plummer, Grafton.
Krista Gay, Athens.
Artie Merrill, Grafton.
Angela Cartier, principal here at Grafton.
Nicole Barnett, admin assistant to the superintendent.
And we expect the superintendent to be here shortly. He's on his way, we believe. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Thank you, Hardy. I would like to suggest that we move the public comments to the end of the meeting, or at least have an opportunity to make public comments at the end rather than just at the beginning.
That's fine.
Yeah. Thank you.
We don't have a problem with that. Okay, the first item is review and approve the minutes from April 30th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. All those in favor? Say aye. The minutes of April 30th, 2026 are approved. The first report is from finance, and that will be me. Basically, they sent out a summary sheet. In the summary sheet, if you go down near the bottom, you'll see something called fund transfers. You should just cross that out. Basically, that is a transfer of money theoretically coming out of our fund balance at the end of the year, which it will happen, but it hasn't really happened yet. So performance-wise, the school is $41,000 ahead so far in revenue for the year, when you add in the encumbrances. And when you take that out of our expenses, we're going to be 96,000 roughly at this point in time estimated favorable, for a favorable operating balance for the school this year of a favorable 137,571. I had estimated 150,000 last month, coming in at 137 now. It could be anywhere from 137 to 150. The key things to remember are our fund balance at the beginning of the year was $732,274. Out of that fund balance, we had warned the town voted, Athens and Grafton, to put $250,083 into this year's budget, which to reduce expenditures. We did that, and that will be coming out later in the year. That will come out of our fund balance. We've also warned and voted by the towns $337,630 to come out next year in the 27 budget. That left us with $144,561 plus $85,000 in our tuition reserve. We warned that, and we moved that into a fund to reduce expenditures in future years. That's a total of $229,561. We also expect, based on what we just looked at for this year's results, an additional surplus of between $137,000 to $150,000. This all means that going into our 28 school year, we should have a fund balance of at least $350,000 available to reduce expenditures going forward in 28, 29, whatever, depending on what happens. We also have a $101,000 fund balance related to this building. In other words, if we don't need to repair any major repairs in this building, we have another $101,000, which the voters will have to decide what they want to do with at some future date. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Just looking at the expenditures, I was just curious for instruction and curriculum. Our budget was 2,000 and
Which one are we looking at?
the expenditures by function. The instruction and curriculum.
Instruction, curriculum, yeah,
And it says year-to-date expenditures, $8,100.
yeah.
What was, do we not
I
budget?
would, I don't know the
properly?
detail, I don't know.
I don't,
Yeah.
I don't have that paper. I would have to look into that. I don't, can I have? I can look into that and
I was just curious, I mean, it's not a lot of money, it's just curious, like, did we?
No, it is a
budget
lot.
properly,
no,
or-
that is a lot.
I would say contact Ed,
I can
Angela?
look, I can look at it. I
okay,
have can you point me to that line, Rachel, that you're looking at?
Under expenditures by function.
instruction and curriculum. right?
Yeah, yep,
Is
The
that on the
budget's
one that you just
2,000.
sent, Nicole?
And,
What's the line though?
it was on the summary.
right here, so.
I can show you one. I forget.
If you go into the detail, I don't have my computer with me to get the detail.
This is the one that was sent out. It's this one. So there's no line listed here. No.
Again, it's not a huge amount of money, just curious.
No, it is a lot. Let me look. We can keep going. I'll look and see if I can
Sure.
find it.
Are there any other questions?
On a lot of the figures had dues and fees. What are we paying dues and fees for?
I have no idea.
I can tell you that. Let me write your questions down. I'll come back to it. Hmm. Add. I'm just trying to find which line that's under. We can keep going and then.
My suggestion would be if we have questions, send them to Angela.
But what
She
is
will get
this?
the answers and respond.
Why is there no-
to questions.
There's no line.
Would you
Like, there's
kindly put
no-
the answers to the questions in the minutes
There's
so
no,
that we can see what they are? the
You know what I mean?
public can see what they are?
there's no line number.
Address that to Nicole, please.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you.
Yep.
Marty, I have a question. I'd appreciate your forbearance with me as I learn this budget process. My interest is in the operating budget, not the total amount, because I'm not quite clear. I know that we take the revenue, the fund transfer to balance at the very, very bottom lines. What I'm interested in knowing is how well we're doing on an operating basis.
That's what I said was 137,000 favorable this year. That's what we're favorable on an operating basis.
And I'm sorry, Hardy, I am not seeing 137,000.
You need to take 285,000 away from the bottom number that you're looking at, which is a fund transfer, which has nothing to do with operations.
But the,
Just,
oh, I see. So the actual budget has a zero in that fund
Can't even
transfer
find it.
line. And then you're
The fund-
taking the 285 out, and that's how you're coming up with a
Yes.
137 positive.
yes,
Thank you. As I
Okay.
go on, I'll learn to do this in my head like you do, Hard.
okay. I think the next, there are no other questions. I think the next, order of business is your report.
Kathy, can you just clarify which dues and fees are you asking? Because dues and fees fall under a lot of different categories. So like,
When I scroll down through all the figures,
yep,
and you come to the totals,
yep.
like it says dues and fees on just about all of them.
So
Just
like,
wondering what it was.
yep, so like dues and fees under 5811 under 2610, it's dues and fees for facilities, like our water certification is there. I can look at another one. Dues and fees, we pay Key Waden out of that, so it's 300 per student. Winter sports gets paid out of that, and field trips get paid out of that. That one's 1501 under 5811. And then another one.
It doesn't specify what those are. It just.
No,
dues
but
and
like-
fees.
Yeah, and so dues and fees, so that really, it's not really like a due necessarily, like an annual like due.
Mhm.
But under like the chart of accounts that Vermont puts out, there's I can share that link. It explains what all of those codes are. Can get kind of confusing. And sometimes the business office will say like, we'll put it under here, it can go under here, but it explains like what each line is for.
I think my first thought was when I hear dues, I think of NEA dues that's taken out of teachers.
Yeah.
salaries.
Mm-hmm. Like under the principals line, the dues and fees is like my VPA membership, the Vermont Principals Association. So like that's one, but also like so is Key Weigh-In. So it's a little bit tricky to think that like a Key Weigh-In or a field trip would come out of the same category of funds that like my membership to VPA would. But the summary and the chart of accounts, that would be helpful to send. Okay. Let me get to my principal's report now. Okay. So the template was revised again, that I'm using. So I know that you received this ahead of time. So I was just going to highlight some of our celebrations and things that are upcoming. Given it's the end of the year, there's a lot. And when I uploaded it, I put everything in green as something that families are invited to. I thought it was like necessary to sort of just like highlight when families are invited in. So some celebrations are that the teachers and students are finishing up their end of year modules. This is a new curriculum. This is our second year of implementation. And so the first year we, did the best we could with getting through all of the modules. And this year, the teachers have done a really good job with their pacing and kind of moving things along so that the students are able to get access to all of the modules. Our end of year assessments are wrapping up. All of our students are, engaged with either the online assessments, the MAP testing, or their one-on-one assessments with our math and reading interventionist or their classroom teacher. We have continued to celebrate students in their demonstration of our 4 values. We are kind, we are safe, we persevere, and take care of our community. We had an all-school reward recently of a scavenger hunt. I don't know if you saw that in the newsletter, but the kids had to like sing happy birthday to some of the salamanders down at the pond, and that was really fun. And today, all of the students changed their name to something else. They chose that, and so they got to like have a name tag and like be called something different. Very confusing for teachers, they said. The teachers were like, I was confused all day. And each time there's an all-school reward, the students get to vote on what they want to do to celebrate that. Staff Appreciation Week went really well. I know that several of you brought in goodies and many people from the community dropped things off, and that's very appreciated. We welcomed 3 rising kindergartners for pizza and play night, and families completed a survey about their hopes and dreams for their student, and they got to see the school, mingle with other families, and staff were here. Families were invited to the Title I event for books and muffins. It's an annual event for families to come into school and come to their child's classroom while learning about Title I and taking home some reading and math activities. Families came to our arts night and celebrated the student work in art, music, library, and PE. And Miss B, our librarian, organized like a scholastic book. We were sort of hoping to get like a book fair here by a local bookstore. We'll try again next year, but in the absence of that, we did like a scholastic book ordering for the whole school and then got some free books for our school, which is great. Our 6th graders had a really great time going to the middle school. We've been trying to get them there more to get a tour and learn more about the middle school that's in our SU. And then as a follow-up, the counselor, a couple of students, and the vice principal came over here actually in the library and met with the 6th graders and answered their questions a few days later after they had time to like sit with all of the information. That was really helpful. The kids seem really excited about transitioning more so than they have in the past. It's been a lot of like nervousness, but now that they've been there and they've seen it, they're feeling better about it. Looking forward, we tie-dyed shirts today. If you leave out the back door, you'll see the all the t-shirts all tied up with their tie-dye. Making wreaths tomorrow at the Grafton Historical Society. The Memorial Day Parade is taking place on Saturday here in Grafton. We have our Miller Farm field trip, all school field trip, on June 3rd. That's already next week, crazy. Field day on Thursday. The weather's looking nice. Our rain date is actually Tuesday, so we were going to look ahead at the weather, and the weather looks good Thursday, so we don't have to push it back to Tuesday. We're doing our kindergarten move up, and families are invited to that during our all school meeting on the 5th, next Friday, and then our 6th grade move up the following week, and then our family barbecue on the last day of school, and then the last day of school, which is an early release at 11:30.
Enrollment is that changed?
Our enrollment is down 1, yes.
So it's 27.
Mhm.
And do you anticipate any other kindergarten registrations other than the 3?
We had one more that we're still waiting on, but it's not confirmed. So right now the number's solidly 3. What we were expecting of.
Any other questions?
And we're still waiting for a 1-day art teacher, right? Art teacher.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, June 11th, I think, was the original date for the last day of school on the school calendar. Were there no snow days this year?
There were, didn't we have the state?
They were
approved
waived.
us waiving them?
So we're waiving all the snow days? I don't know, ready they were.
I think it was 2, right?
Correct.
That district wide?
Correct, yes.
The next item is old unfinished business for discussion and action. Update on the consultant progress. We received a letter. Andy, do you want to make any comment?
Yeah, thank you, Artie. And first, if I could just say, I apologize for not being there in person. We're in the midst of finalizing some interviews on the high school principal, and it went over, and by the time I drove out there, it would be pretty late. So I apologize for that. But yeah, so I spoke with Dave Yance recently. First thing is, I believe that Dave is going to be out there. Correct me if I'm June 4th or 5th, Angie, is that?
Next Friday, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
next
be out here
Friday.
next Friday for the day.
Speaking with folks and at the school and spending some time out there. So that's not part of his piece, but he's been, we provided him quite a bit of information. He sent us a long list of information he was looking for with budgetary stuff, with enrollment history and predictions. We had about 3 different sets of enrollment and prediction numbers. We had some from the state, some we had done. So we provided all of that information, school budgetary stuff, transportation information, tuition stuff, facility stuff. So we got all that to him. He's currently in the process of starting conversations with stakeholders. So he had a conversation with Kathy with the select board from Grafton, and then he's looking to set up a conversation with Dave from Athens select board, and then like I said, he's doing the June 5th meeting, and then he's going to be coming out and looking to do some stuff with the with Ed Connors and with our Sarah Dudding, who's taking over our transportation, looking at some of that stuff, and then spending some time with town clerks, and then looking at some stuff in July for some joint select board, school board conversations, and broader community forums. So That's kind of where he is on that, and I can take any questions that I can bring back to him.
Yeah, I have a couple. I'm a bit concerned that there's no mention on here of parents. I know during our last meeting, and one of our main focuses that we talked about is the number of people that are choosing to either tuition their kids to private school or homeschool. In addition, I know one of the concerns for Athens is, if Grafton was to close, there'd be difficulty for some parent. We run the little free pantry in Athens, and a number of families with kiddos use our pantries that, don't even have any form of transportation. And so I'm just concerned that there's no mention of speaking with parents at all. It seems like it's focused really on numbers, and there's a mention here of speaking to people with historical perspectives, but I would think that parents should be the ones being consulted.
Yeah, Krista, I don't want to speak for him. I do believe, though, that in part of his, without it in front of me, there was, that was part of that proposal of having some community nights and having some of that, but I will follow up specifically about speaking with parents and whether that's setting times to have some time to invite them in.
Yeah.
Or how to arrange that. So I'll get some very specific answers for you on that.
Yeah, and I agree. I thought that there was talk about having like a community night where more folks, I know when we had our meeting, there were folks here from the foundation and other things. So I think a community forum would be helpful. The other thing is, this might seem silly, but I know it's a consultant report, and I know stakeholders is a very consulting term, but I don't know what a stakeholder is in this. Like, I'm guessing that it means community members, but it says important conversations with stakeholders that will lead to the next phase of stakeholder engagement. Like, I don't know what that means. And so I don't know if there's a way to explain for the, write for the audience to explain what that means.
Sure. That's great question. And we get into education speak, right? I'm a former special educator and I like to use acronyms, and then as educators, we like to use education speak. So I will ask him to define that a little bit more. Yeah, and I'm looking back at his, I think in the memo, he does refer in number 4. In July, he's anticipating a broader community forums. But I'll try and, kind of tack him down to some more specific dates and more specific, what does that look like? Is it more, smaller focus groups, like in Athens, more, like just as you're saying, like more like a focus group around homeschool, private tuition, or is it just a bigger group kind of thing? So, because I think there might be some opportunities there to target some groups.
I think it might be beneficial to, as much as holding some things here. I think it may be helpful to do something in Athens, just transportation wise, the folks that can't, maybe they can get to somewhere in Athens, but getting all the way over here might be and maybe technology isn't accessible either. Yeah.
So just while you're saying that, and just thinking as I was saying that, myself not being very familiar with Athens geography, the first thing that popped in my head is obviously the old Athens school, but is that a good location for that, or are there other locations?
Yeah, that's the community center and I'm the co-chair, so I don't have no problem getting us.
And it's pretty centrally located.
Yeah.
As far as
and on that note, I'm not sure the best way to say it, but at the last Athens Select Board meeting, we spoke about when we could all be available, because I know there was talks of a joint meeting. So if you just want to pass along that the Athens Select Board can make themselves available at a regularly scheduled school board meeting, so that we're not trying to come up with a new meeting time. The available members can come to a regular school board meeting. We just have to know in advance so that we can warn it as a select board meeting.
Yeah, so our next board meeting would be into August. So, well, no, we'd be in June. Okay, so no, that's good. All right. Sorry, I misspoke there. So, all right, yeah, let me I will speak to Dave. Anything else on?
Okay, thank you. Andy, can you hear me? This is Suzanne from Grafton.
Yes.
So I have a couple of process questions, please. So, to what extent are the documents you're referring to public documents? And if so, how can we find them and look at them ourselves? I'm speaking specifically of the proposal and perhaps a timeline for the project that includes the steps you just outlined.
I think those are our last meeting, are those our last meeting minutes?
Yeah, so
full-
that is a public document, and what I will do.
I didn't see it attached to the minutes, but I may
Yep.
have made a mistake.
So, nope, that, because it was introduced, I don't know if it was actually in the, agenda. So that's a good point. But what we can do is, we can get copies out to, Angela, and so they can be available there at the school, just so that they're available. But also I'll speak with Ricky to see if we can, get a link just set up there, on the board website so that it's available up there as well.
Andy, I think the availability of these documents online would be much more practical. I mean,
Okay.
it may be a good idea for parents, but you know, in fairness to the school, it's pretty well closed up during the day when we could come here and pick up documents.
Just try to think how, yeah,
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 it's just more
whatever's easiest.
practical to have a link that we can access, and maybe Nicole could make sure we all have that link. And then we could go to them and prep ourselves for these meetings. And I'm especially interested in the project timeline, the document. You must have a document from Dave that you just spoke on about how he plans to attack this project.
Yeah, I think the only, and I'd have to, just your other questions, like the other pieces that, I'm just looking at it, the only thing that I think of all the things I probably provided them, the transportation may be the only thing because it has addresses on it, but I don't even, I think that's even because it doesn't have student names on it. That, other than that, that's probably, I mean, all of that is, we provided the budget to them. They're all just things that we've already published. So let me just go through them, and let me just double check. I don't foresee any reason that anything wouldn't be a non-public document off the top of my head. And we'll just kind of create maybe just a sub page in some way. And it may just take me a couple days to get it up there.
That sounds great. I really do.
That's a great, I appreciate it. That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great.
Okay, is there any other question at this time? Okay,
Hardy, do you mind if I just come back to Rachel's question about that instruction and curriculum? So that's 3410. That is the professional development line for staff to access. So in the CBA, there's the contracted professional development that teachers can take PD. And so I'm actually looking back because there's an email thread with Trish and I where I'm like, this line is over. And she said that line gets blown because you can't really anticipate how much teachers are going to spend or how much like PD they're going to. So she said that line, that's what I found it. So that's what that is. That's professional development. Yep.
Not like curriculum.
Yeah, it's not like I bought expensive paper towels. Yeah. Or yeah, books. Yeah. And then I found the chart of accounts that I'll have Nicole link it in the notes too.
next item is new business for discussion and action. Did you all receive the letter from Rockingham?
Yeah.
I think basically that we should just forward this letter to Mr. Youngs.
Dave.
And it should be part of his analysis.
I don't disagree with that. I was actually kind of offended by the letter's timing, because I feel like this process that we're going into with him, as he said when he was here last meeting, should be open-minded And the letter was very, and I appreciate what they are offering. Or what she brought up in the letter, but. I'm saying. Yeah, I wanna see all the, the numbers and the things and the options before there's influence. From the district, and I know it's not,
But
It
that's
was-
why we would send it to them. This should be something that he analyzes as one of the options for everybody. It's just a proposal from them.
Right. and I get that, it just, to me, felt it was. I appreciate it, and it's part of the piece, but it just seemed. Too soon. And then there's also things in the letter that I frankly disagree with, and I feel like.
But still, they have sent us, the board, a letter, and we need to forward it to Mr. Young.
Yeah.
I think it makes
Nicole
sense for
bringing
him
over the
to,
letter, because we didn't get it.
I think it makes sense for him to get it, but I think it's also okay for the board to share concerns because Rachel, completely agree with what you're saying. I think what was hard for me is we just agreed to spend so much money on a consultant. And then before the next meeting, we're getting a letter that I read as, please close your school so we don't have to close ours. And I'm not saying that's the intent of it, but when we just spent over 10 grand to hire somebody to look at all options. And the other part that was hard is I feel like the message to Grafton from the SU is for a long time been, you don't matter. I know that's not anybody's intent, but it feels that way. And so to hear that the discussion about this, they've been involved in the discussion, it seems like the decision's already made up by the SU. I'm not saying that's true, but the letter felt like the SU's advocating for us to be closed in order to save Saxon's River. And that just felt hard.
Where's the letter?
It
I've
was
never,
emailed to the board, like their board to our board.
okay, I don't have any knowledge of that
It's a
letter.
public document, isn't it? It's not a private
Here,
document between. two
Nicole, if
boards.
I forward it to you, can you include it in the minutes because we're discussing it?
Yeah, but it was warned, but it wasn't on the.
We got this letter
Today.
today.
Yes, it was. No, we got
It
it.
was warned, but the
Mhm.
letter wasn't
Mhm.
included on in the document, so we
It's on
can't.
the agenda.
It's
The letter itself was not
this
posted.
Letter, the discussion is posted, but the letter wasn't included, that's my
Correct.
point. I'm not
Angela, I
saying
just
it's anyone's
forwarded it to
fault,
you.
I'm just
No.
saying we didn't have the information to have the conversation tonight.
I just forwarded it to you, Angie.
Well, it's under new business. It's under new business.
Under new business,
Right.
we're going to send a letter to Mr. Youngs. And leave it for there for now.
Well, Hardy,
Thank you,
but no,
thank you.
thank you.
Anything else?
No, I don't know what the best way to give feedback, if Dave's gonna consider this, which I think he should, because I want to know all the options, and if this is an option, I wanna be advised on it. But I don't know how to put in our feedbacks, there was stuff in here specifically focusing on Athens in transportation, but there wasn't stuff about Grafton.
Right.
And so I just don't want it to,
There's points where it's.
which I feel like it would deserve a response in order to get appropriate feedback.
But shouldn't this go to him so that he can
It is, but I don't know,
answer all of the questions?
I don't know how to give him
Answer your
that.
questions. He
Well-
can answer your questions.
Could we sign it with concern?
Andy has his hand up.
Who's Andy?
Andy, anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to inform the board that Rockingham has, as a board, has been discussing writing you all this letter for a few months now. So the timing of this letter is not in any, and I don't want to speak for the board, but just because I have worked with them. I don't think it is to try and undermine the work that Dave is doing, or it is not in any way because of the work you're doing with Dave. I think it just happens to have finally, by the time they got it written and we're able to meet and vote on the decision to send it to you, it just is a coincidence that it happens to sequence that way. It was not designed in any way. So I don't want you to feel like they're trying to undermine in any way. I do understand your concerns in that way. I also do not want you to feel that there's been any undermining in any way of the SU is trying to sway one board over the other. We've tried to be transparent with all boards of just keeping them abreast of the conversations that have happened at every level. So they've asked, what discussions are happening that you all are having. So we've provided that information. And just that, like, as the SU board asked, I think the last time we met, what the Grafton board or the Athens Grafton board had done as far as a consultant, we gave them an update. I believe the Westminster board had asked me to give an update as far as the consultant and what direction you all were taking. So I try to give them at least an update as to what direction you're taking, and that the purpose of that consultant is for the community to have a discussion around what is best for the students of Athens and Grafton and what is best for the community. And that's how we've continued, and I have continued to represent it. It's not about closing the school, it's what's best for the students and for the community. Just, wanted to just kind of, I heard that anxiety and concern, and it hasn't, if it feels like it's been represented that way, I do apologize for that.
I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate that, Andy. Just in the letter, I don't think it was noted that the concern was for the students. The second paragraph is about how their numbers are down and we can help them with their numbers. Could we send a summary statement of our concerns with the letter to Dave? Like, that would be,
And I'm meeting with him next Friday, so I'm happy to share any of those feelings too, if you send them to me.
Would you like to write it up for the
I think Rachel might have more thoughts than I do. Sure. I'm not trying to pass the buck. I just know Rachel had.
You could also come to school next Friday if you wanted.
Yeah.
And be with him yourself.
But Rachel, if you wanted to put that together, I'm not sure how to have the board look at it though, because it would be a public meeting if you sent it to everybody. So I'm not.
I'd say just forward it.
Okay.
You had
My
concerns, she has
concerns also
concerns.
Denver.
Yeah.
Forward your
Or maybe
concerns to
Friday.
Dave Young.
Yeah.
Because I think they'll take that letter, there's a lot of information that he can gather or ask questions from with Andy. Even what they've put in the letter, there's a lot of legality there that has to happen with any change. They don't even say that, but that has to be looked into, and that's what they's there for.
And that's one of the things we even talked about last time is, what might be best for kiddos from Athens might not be best for
Right.
all of the kiddos from Grafton, which I think is, I don't want to speak for Rachel, but I think that's Rachel's concern.
One of my concerns in the letter discussed the busing and how it would be a shorter ride for Athens kids to get to Saxons River. But
Not for that.
the current busing structure for kids in Grafton going to Bellows Falls, which would be also to Saxons River, is we have to drive 4 miles to meet a bus at 6:45 in the morning. And there's no cell service there, so if something happens, you don't know the bus isn't coming because you have no cell service. And then in the afternoon, what I have encountered in the past is the bus driver requested that I go to CIC to pick up my child when I was working, because he didn't want to put, my kid was the only kid out here. So that didn't work so well, and I don't know as though anywhere else in Rockingham that happens. So
Andy, do you know how many kids are currently at Sassons River? And also, isn't it only a K through 4 school?
Yes.
One through four.
Okay. Good one.
So there are currently about 80 students at Saxons River. It is currently a K through 4 school. That is correct. And you know, just as Rachel's pointed out, yeah, I mean, you know, the transportation situation is not always ideal. And that is something that we've even shared with Rockingham, which is, you know, even though we will continue to run buses, no matter what situation transpires, right? Because we have the high school and students will continue to attend the high school, assumingly, that we'll continue to run buses. And but one of the things, just so you all know, that we're looking into is how can we better utilize and how can we look at our routes. So that's something we are looking at and with our new transportation coordinator, but we're also looking at some possible programs that might actually help improve our program, you know, our routes throughout the whole SU. So and maximize our routes. So that's something we're doing that has nothing to do with with Dave or with the current situation. It's just something we're looking at because we need bus drivers. And so if there's anyone who is interested in wanting to be a bus driver, I mean, we're happy to help you get your driver's license. And if you want to drive a bus, we'd love to have you come on board. So.
Thank you, Andy.
Nicole, could you make sure he gets a letter, a copy of the building
Yes.
today?
Yep.
And then Rachel will.
I'm sending it right now, just so you all know.
Thank you.
I'm writing the email right now.
And Nicole, can you put a copy in the minutes too, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Rachel, he's here 7:45 to 3 o'clock.
Yeah, anything else on this subject? Public comment.
Thank you. So I just want to pick up on something that Andy just said, which is about this decision process regarding our school being a community issue. And I feel that very personally myself. I live in this neighborhood and I am very passionate about looking at all the options for the disposition of this school and what could be advantageous to both our students and also to our community. And so one of the things that I'd like to ask the school board for going forward is to really make public the documents that you're working on and the process that you're working through so that those of us in the community can fully participate. And I really was very sincere about not being able to see that document, the letter, when the school board opted to discuss it. I'm not sure whether having it as a new business means that documents that are to be discussed in a public meeting aren't available in a public meeting, but be that as it may, it doesn't matter. The larger issue is community involvement. When I saw this on the agenda, I thought, uh-oh, Rockingham is going to ask us to combine with their school. I mean, it was intuitive. And I just really think we need to go through the analysis and be data-driven on these decisions and not just back and forth with letters from one board to the other, but our consultant needs to do this work. So those are my 2 points. Let's go through the process. Let's keep things public. And I know that puts perhaps an extra burden on Nicole, and I want to acknowledge that and thank her in advance for that. But yeah.
Anything else?
Just touching on that, I've noticed that the SU has added the meeting times onto the website, but I haven't seen it yet in the Grafton newsletter. We could just add that. the actual school board meeting times.
It is in Grafton News.
Not, I think she meant.
The newsletter that comes
Oh,
from
the
the school.
newsletter.
There's
Oh,
dates
Oh, the
at the end of
weekly?
the newsletter, and the
Oh, I
school board
don't
meeting
put it
hasn't
on
shown
there.
up for us.
Yeah, I don't put
You
it
have
on
to
there.
look at it.
Yeah, I don't put it on there.
Anything else?
Will the school board's commentary on the letter, if that's the right phrasing, will that be a public document or no? Will that just be sent to sort of in line with what Suzanne was saying? Will that be a public document or will that just sort of be?
I have
privately
no
consumed?
idea. That is a great question. If it's sent by one person, I don't know.
Because I think I would be interested in knowing sort of what this board's commentary is. Like if that's a public document and I'm not attending this meeting, I'm gonna think, oh, everything in here must be correct. And if there's commentary one way or the other, I think.
If there's anything submitted on behalf of the board, then it'll be public, but I don't know if individual stuff, I mean, I guess you could always FOIA request. I don't know. I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know.
You put
So
it in the Grafton News.
notwithstanding the concern about whether one person
Andy
sends
has
it
his
or
hand
the
up.
board, wouldn't it be important for the board to consider the content of this letter and actually send it as a response to the Rockingham letter from this school board? I mean, one option might be for Rachel to bring a draft to this next board meeting and then consider it and vote on it.
Andy has his hand up.
If the board, just as advice, if the board chooses to respond to this letter officially, then the board would want to agree upon a letter in open session. And then that letter would be a public document. And they would want to have a look at a letter, a draft, just as Suzanne was just saying, would want to vote on that letter. And then that letter would be sent. They would agree that the board chair or someone would send on their behalf to the Rockingham board as an official response. Because this came as an official document from the Rockingham board, I would advise you that you would want to respond, if you wanted to respond, that you respond in kind as an official response and not as a quote unquote backdoor response, or as as a one-off or an individual response. You can either not respond at all, or if you had an official response. And how you could go about doing that is you could draft a response. If you wanted to respond in a timely manner, you could hold a special meeting to then review that draft, and then send that off in a timely manner, as opposed to waiting until your next meeting in June.
I don't think my thought was not responding to, and not necessarily a response to the board. It was more of a kind of an addendum with submitting it with these are my concerns with the letter, what was presented in the letter to the consultant, not to the board at all. But if it mucks things up, I can bring up my concerns directly to the consultant.
I feel like a response to the board prior to getting input from the consultant would be premature. I don't feel like we would have a response to whether it's worth pursuing or not until we hear back from him.
I agree.
And again, your official response could be, thank you very much. We'll take it under advice. We've sent it off to our consultant at this time. And I could deliver that on your behalf if you want to give me that authority. And then just as you're saying, if the consultant is having forums and you're presenting that information, whether it's as a citizen or as a board, you know, in an open board session, you guys, you know, then that I think is fine as respondents or whatnot. And then if the board wanted to officially respond in some other, you know, more official response at some later date. I was just responding to people saying, like, asking about an official response. That would be my advice on how to respond in a couple of different ways.
Yeah, my response, not to sound like a letter and not to sound like a lawyer, would be, you know, dear Rockingham School Board, we received your letter. We'll respond in due time. Thank you.
Sounds correct.
Want to make that as a motion?
Sure. Who would submit that letter? Would Andy, well, who's submitting it? Would it be us?
I would say Nicole would submit it for us.
Okay. I make a motion that a letter be submitted in response to the Rockingham School Board letter that says, dear Rockingham School Board, we received your letter. We will respond in due time. Thank you.
All those in favor?
I need a second.
I don't.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Party seconds. Aye.
Aye.
I have one. I would be very interested in Rachel's commentary on the letter, even though I have not seen the letter. I have a sense that it would be meaningful information for the community to understand what your response to that letter is, Rachel. And I'd like to reconcile how we can do that. One way is for you to talk directly to Dave, but honestly, I'd love for you to say it in an open school board meeting. And I wonder if the school board would agree to that.
There's director's comments at the end where people can say whatever they want.
And I apologize. That was what I was expressing interest in being public. That also eventually what is said back to Rockingham, but also more immediately in the commentary that this board has for the consultant of, like, hey, this letter says these things. We also believe, like, I'd be interested in that too, like you expressed.
So would you mind putting that on the agenda for next board meeting so that Rachel could comment?
At the end of every meeting, there's director comments. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the agenda.
Time for director's comments.
Hardy?
Director's comments from the left.
Hold on, Andy.
Hardy, one of the things I can also do in talking with Dave is how is he anticipating disseminating the information he's gaining from his forums and from his discussions with community members and whomever he's having those conversations with. And, you know, if it's like, hey, I'm going to give you like my write-ups or, you know, my transcripts, then if they don't have like, you know, as long as they don't have revealing information about, like, you know, my daughter Mary type of stuff, I don't see why we couldn't just be posting all of that, you know, in the same kind of area that we just talked about, putting the proposal and all of that stuff kind of on a, you know, a public web page kind of thing. So, you know,
my only concern with doing that as it goes on is, I feel like it's always best to have a report at the end that synthesizes everything rather than getting pieces of it as it goes on. So I feel like it can look one way, even though the end result's a different thing.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I was just trying to, you know, think it all out and just voice it out. So, but I can, but I'll also share, I'll just share all this concern with Dave. Just, these are the overall concerns. So he's just aware of it walking into it.
Could he come to the next meeting?
I will definitely ask him if he can make it, you know, especially, you know, even virtually, I think would be, you know, I know he had a conflict today.
That's for the, doing a big conference.
Yeah. No, and I understand it might not work, but I figured I'd ask. And thank you, Andy.
Sure.
Rachel, were you commenting as a board member or a parent when you react to this letter?
Able, you're a board member. Yes, a board member, well, board member with experience.
Got it.
Put it that way.
And not knowing the content of the letter at this point, I'm not sure hearing your response to it would be all that helpful. Perhaps putting it off for the next meeting?
I'd be agreeable to that.
I
I'd love to
always
see the
comment
letter.
at the end of the next meeting
Yeah, that sounds
during
great.
director's comments.
Did we have a letter? Did we have a letter here? Yeah, letter here.
No, not.
I think we're at the point where we can have director's comment. Starting with you, Kathy.
Oh.
Yes, yes.
You know, I'm always pleased to have community members here. Which lots of meetings we just kind of skip over because nobody says anything, and even if people are online. And we're in a critical stage right now. That's why we hired David Yance to help sort everything out for us. And I think he's gonna do a fine job. The letter today, and I happened to get it just before I came in on my computer, read it, and I had that kind of, what? Kind of shock feeling. They can't tell us what to do here. We're trying to figure this out. And there's so many unknowns with what's going on with the legislature and the Senate and the House in terms of education right now. It's up in the air, even though they've made some critical decisions that are going to affect all schools. And especially our school with the low numbers. So it's gonna be a learning experience for everybody. And I hope we all come together as a community. And that the school is welcoming that information and welcoming the community into the school. You know, here we are. I love this school. Because the school in any community is its heart. That's all.
I guess I appreciate everybody's input and efforts in our meetings and this discussion, and I look forward to a open-minded overview of all the information as we go forward.
I just wanted to thank everybody for their input. You're on social media, there's been some viral videos this past week of school boards gone astray and saying some pretty unkind things to each other. And after I see those, it always makes me really grateful to work with neighbors that even if they disagree on issues, I think everybody has the kiddos' best interest at heart. And I really appreciate that when you look at the board members, you see them as community members and not as, these political pawns that I feel like is happening to a lot of school boards. So I really appreciate the service of everybody here, and Andy and Angela and Nicole and everybody else at the SU and our community members too.
Thank everybody's input tonight. And there's a lot going to happen in the next few months. Not only with our school here, but also with the legislature. And that is the real unknown at this time. As they have sort of come together, it appears, on a road forward, which sounds more like big BOCA districts.
What's the OCA?
The BOCES.
Oh.
The BOCES. But the latest amendments and the funding formula is slated now possibly to go into effect in 2029. So the legislature is working on that as we speak. And they hope to come to a resolution shortly. Thank you.
Make a motion.
Should we adjourn?
I make a motion we adjourn.
And when is our next meeting?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second.
Thank you for watching this Fact TV presentation. If you would like a digital or DVD copy of the meeting, please contact us by phone or email. Our phone number is 802-463-1613 or email us at fact810@gmail.com. Falls Area Community Television, keeping government honest.